on, guys? Welcome to the first installment of Punters Playbook. This is going to be a weekly series where I do a deep dive into what's looking good in the world of punting. So we're going to do all things fight and field insights, so rugby league and MMA, UFC, stuff like that, things that make sense to the channel. So I'm going to be trying to give you guys an inside scoop into this week's what's looking good and what's not looking good. But we're going to kick it off with the NRL because that's it's going to take the longest. So first game up, the Thursday night round, Penrith Panthers versus the Dolphins. Okay, Penrith Panthers are on a 4-game losing streak. Not looking good if you're a Penrith fan. They're playing against the Dolphins, who just came off their first win and looked pretty good doing it against a Titans team that I thought could have been up there in the top 8. Couple of notes to look at, couple of things that stand out. All right, McLean has scored 3 tries in his last 3 games, so 1 try every week. All right, 3 weeks in a row he scored a try, so he's looking pretty good as an anytime try scorer. Okay. If he's going to be doing it 1, 2, 3 weeks in a row, he's kind of broken that whole ideology of score 1 and then won't score the next week. So he looks interesting as an anytime try scorer. Penrith Panthers last week against the Cowboys conceded 3 tries on their wing, 2 being Murray Talangi and the other being to Purdue, I'm pretty sure, who was a centre, but, was on the wing. And Max Plath has scored in his last 2 games, okay? It's a bit of a craftier player there. Also to note, the Dolphins are a little bit susceptible to line breaks. Last week in the 2 tries they conceded was sort of, just sloppy defence, and then the ball gets through, being AJ Brimson and Philip Sami, I'm pretty sure. And then I think that's it for notes, really. A couple possible anytime try scorers. Dylan Edwards, we just said the Dolphins are a little bit susceptible to line breaks and things of the such, which is a good traditional fallback try in my opinion. So I like Edwards as an anytime try scorer. First week back. Alamotti, who hasn't scored a try in his last couple of games. Alamotti hasn't scored a try in the last 2 games, and he's a pretty prolific winger. And then I like the Hammer. For a little bit there. He was not looking great, but he's just got his first try of the season. I think there's more to come out of the Hammer. And Bostock and Isako, as I mentioned earlier last week, Penrith conceding 3 tries on their wing. I like either Bostock or Isako being wingers to at least get 1 in. And once again, with the Dolphins' somewhat sloppy defence, Liam Martin to push through in that 10 metres. And then maybe a Farnworth, because he's looking really hungry for a try, but he can never quite seem to get there. So they're my anytime try scorers. Couple throw them out there. Not telling you to pick them, but, they speak to me. My multi for this game, what I'm thinking we're going to be looking at here, Penrith to win, Alamotti, Edwards, Cleary to score 6 points. And a possible Bostock in there, so I'll have to see on the day. But yeah, that's the Penrith Dolphins game. I really think that that one's not going to go through because I have terrible luck. Okay, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm in the great punting depression. Nothing's cashed out for me, so you're probably taking tips off the wrong guy. But all I can do is do the research and try my best. Next up, Dragons versus Titans at Jubilee Stadium, I believe. If it is, big Jubilee guy, you got to give this a chance to do its thing here. Perfect. A couple of notes got to go through here. Titans conceded 3 tries to forwards last week, so a lot of bigger boys pushing straight through. Maxi Plath. Can't even think of the rest of them, bro. Why don't we have any time try scorers here? Fucking with me? They've conceded 3 tries to forwards last week's game against the Dolphins. Dragons conceded 3 tries to fast, spontaneous, and unpredictable attacks. That being, chip and chases, just that fast ruck speed coming up the wing, and that seems to be a bit of a weak point for them, and it's a strong point for the Titans. The Titans are often fast, unpredictable attack coming out of that halves pairing of AJ Brimson and Jaden Campbell. Tuipulotu has scored in 4 of his last 5 games this season, so he's looking really good as an anytime try scorer. Just obviously has that constant ability to score tries. Jaden Campbell has scored 3 in his last 5, and he's always looking for a line break. He's always looking to snatch that ball out of play and take it all the way to the other end of the field. And I just think Damien Cook's due for a try. He hasn't scored a try all season. I think Cookie's due for a try in this one. So, clean cut, nice, short and simple one. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. I'm taking Titans 1-12, Cookie and Jojo Fafita to score. Pretty simple. Up next, Brisbane Broncos versus the Sydney Roosters. Going to be live in attendance at this one, okay? So there's going to be a lot of punting on this one specifically. Few things to look at. Both Jesse Arthurs and Dominic Young have scored 4 in their last 5 games this season. So, they're pretty handy with the ball. They like that wing. Teddy has yet to score this season, and James Tedesco is a bit of a prolific try scorer. So I'd like to look into Teddy being an anytime try scorer for this game. Okay. In 4 of the last 5 games this season, the Roosters have conceded a try to a forward, under or near the posts. Okay, so this is big boys pushing their way through and scoring a try against the Roosters. It's happened in 4 of their last 5. And, that being said, Jackie boy over here, Jack Jeski, alright, butcher me on that one. He has scored 2 tries in his last 5 games. So I'd like to look at him being an anytime try scorer this week, because I thought he'd come close last week, but with the tendency of Roosters letting in these forwards close to the uprights, I'm going to go Jack as an anytime try scorer myself. And then Cobbo hasn't scored a game in his last 2, and he's on a little bit of the weaker side. Not saying that Daniel Tupou isn't weak, but he's no Dom Young. Okay, I like Dom Young a bit more as a defensive player, so I'm going to take my final bet for the game. Jack Goloszewski, Dominic Young and Teddy to score, and Roosters to win. I'm going to flip the script on this one. I think the Roosters win an away game against a dominant Brisbane Broncos. The Roosters have already lost to them once this season, and I like the narrative that the Roosters can get a win back. On to the Saturday games, Cronulla Sharks versus the Manly Sea Eagles. What are we looking like here, people? Manly versus Sharks. Some notes. Manly conceded multiple tries off their wing last week against Melbourne Storm. That slaughter. Ronaldo Mulatalo hasn't scored a try this season, and Stone Street hasn't scored one in the last 2 games. Olakau'atu is due for a try, I'm fairly certain. Okay, I'm fairly certain Olakau'atu is due for a try. And the Sharks conceded multiple tries to forwards Ben Hudson-Young and Matty Nicholson last week. So I like Olakau'atu to push through at some point here. And I just don't think Manly are a 2 losses in a row team. I think they tend to come back, as you can see. So I'm going to take, for my final pick, Manly 1-12, Olakau'atu and Ronaldo Mulatalo to score at any time. Nice, quick and easy one. Nice and simple. That's simple footy, guys. Okay. Up next, the boys versus the Cows. South Sydney Rabbitohs versus North Queensland Cowboys. Rabbits conceded 2 tries on a wing last week. So, a little bit of wing defence. Needs to probably step their game up. We're missing Ravalawalu, which is a big part of that wing defence. Obviously missing Humphreys and Walker. Latrell and Jaden Sullivan are filling in there. Talangi has scored in both of the last 2 winning games for the Cowboys. Once again, piling on this winger bet. So for this one, pretty simple. No one to win. I'm taking Talangi Johnson, and Trell as anytime try scorers. Thanks for coming. Parramatta versus the Canberra Raiders. No, I kind of blew past that one a little bit. Sorry. Eels versus Raiders. Look. KO Weeks hasn't scored a try all season. And, you know, he's a bit of an explosive player. I like KO Weeks to get a try at some point, okay? Eels have that fast attack last week against St. George. Really pressed the pace. And, you know, fast attacks up that wing. Raiders have multiple forward tries last week. 2 being Hudson Young, 1 being Matty Nicholson. And they're known for, you know, getting in there. Matty Nicholson loves to put the ball over the line, especially against these defensively weak teams. And, you know, Parramatta are missing Lomax. So that's something to look at as well. Nice and quick one, guys. My bet this week is going to be, once again, I got Raiders to win. And I got KO Weeks and Nicholson to get through. I'm not picking any Parramatta try scorers because unreliability. Melbourne Storm versus the Waz. Storm concede wing tries. Nice simple little tip there. They just, you know, nearly every game this year, they've conceded a winger try. You know, someone has gone over in that wing when they're playing against the Storm. So that's something to look at there. Then once again, looking at this, we go into the anytime try scorers. Both of the Waz wingers have only got 1 try this season, so the ball hasn't been all that much out there. But then, you know, there's not much going on in that wing area for the Warriors, so they're gonna have to make up for it with centers and, you know, crafty plays. Paps has scored 4 of his last 5 games. Grant's due for a try. Harry Grant is due for a try. He scored 1 in both of the 2 starting games, and he hasn't scored in 3 games, so I think he's due. And then they're playing at the MCG. It all kind of stacks up against the Warriors. I'm taking Harry Grant. I'm taking the number 2 for the Waz winger, and I'm taking the Storm. Yeah, I didn't know how to pronounce his name. Wasn't even going to try. And last but not least, we have Newcastle Knights versus West Tigers. I don't have much to say about this one. I didn't put really any notes or anything together. Okay, so apologies for you Tigers and Newcastle Knights fans. But, yeah, I wasn't prepared at all. Okay, I wasn't prepared. But just from the outside looking in, guys, we're just going to build it right here. We're going to do the research right here, right now. Anytime try scorers, guys. Give it to me. Greg Marsdew has only scored 1 try this season, which is not great. Skelton has only scored. He scored 3 times apparently. Okay, there you go. Look at that. Best has only scored twice. Kalen Ponga hasn't scored once. I like Kalen Ponga to get across at some point this game. Yeah, we're due for a Ponga try. So nice quick multi. I'm not picking any try scorers, any winners here. I'm going to go Bradman Best, Kalen Ponga, and Sonny Taruva to score at any time. Practically the same bet I ran last week with Newcastle. So yeah. But yeah, that's my multis for this round of rugby league. Okay. But we're just going to dive straight into the other half, and we're going to go check out UFC 314, and I'm going to give you a little couple tips and tricks into betting on the UFC here this weekend. Okay. A couple things to look at. Trayshawn Gore is the underdog going into this fight. Okay, has a singular loss. No, 2 losses in the UFC. Okay, he's got 2 losses in the UFC. He's fighting. Michael Chulio has had 1 fight in the UFC, and it was a big one. Both of these guys, somewhat, prospects. Trayshawn Gore's got he's got a couple nice wins. And Michael Chulio, he's looking like a bit of a prospect. He's got heavy hands, and he can knock you out. But what I like about the money here with Trayshawn Gore is he's a grappler. He's going to take you down. He's going to wrestle you. So I like Trayshawn Gore to get this one done on the ground, whether that be via submission or TKO or a decision. I think locking him in on the money line is the smartest thing to do for $3.75. Mitch Ramposa has lost once in the UFC and got the boot. Sudameri has not won a single fight in the UFC. I like Mitch Ramposa to get in there and probably scoot to a split to unanimous decision. $2.40 is too much to pass up. Cedricus Dumas, I actually don't like that one. Where's the money? Show me the money. Show me the money. Bryce Mitchell paying $3 to Gene Silver's $1.40. Bryce Mitchell, I don't know how they count him out so bad. I get Gene Silver as a big prospect and he's got all this hype behind him, but you also got to look at the fact that Bryce Mitchell is proven in the UFC. And once again, it's the same as that Trayshawn Gore fight. You can't count out the fact that Bryce Mitchell is one of the best wrestling, grappling featherweights in the division. So, I'm liking Bryce Mitchell to get this one done. Probably, once again, $3 odds. Just a good money line bet. But if you're feeling really naughty, TKO or submission. Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. Yes, Michael Chandler's getting up there in age. Paddy Pimblett is young, hungry, 8 wins, 0 losses in the UFC. But Michael Chandler being $2.30 is it's just a classic. It's just a classic knockout bet. It's a classic knockout bet. Michael Chandler's path to victory here is a nice knockout. So I'm going Michael Chandler via knockout. But I could also see Michael Chandler by decision. So, but a money line bet there is good too for $2.30. And then the big one, Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. In my personal opinion, my professional opinion here, the only way Diego Lopez beats Volk is via knockout. I don't think he outpoints him. He doesn't have the cardio, and I don't think he submits Volk. So I like Diego Lopez to win this one by decision. If you're a betting man, that has got money all over it. Let's just take a real quick look at this. Diego Lopez, knockout and method of victory. Diego Lopez by KO to KO. So that's paying a lot of money, man. $3.75. Diego Lopez win by knockout. So, yeah. That's my UFC ones. But we've got the stat board over here. You might have been looking at the stat board all video. This is the stat board. We're looking at some stats here, okay, guys? I'm going to dive right into this. Punters Playbook, okay? We got our cash cows over here in the blue, our locks here in the black, and we got our long shots here in the red, okay? Gamble responsibility, of course. Cash cows. We just run through this. Diego Lopez is looking like a cash cow for a knockout. Mitch Ramposa, obviously, I think is just going to get it done over a 3-fight losing kid, Scooter Mary. Bryce Mitchell has the grappling advantage. He's a cash cow, man. Okay, these are cash cow fighters. These are fighters who are being disrespected on the betting odds and are being put in there as underdogs when they shouldn't be. Bryce Mitchell, there is big money on that. Trayshawn Gore, as I mentioned. Manly, I think the Birds, as I said, they're not a win one. They're not, lose 2 games in a row team. They come back from these losses. The Titans, who I think are always just unpredictable, and they're playing against, the Dragons. They've got a pretty decent defense, but I think the attack speed's really what's going to come into it there for the Titans. And the Dolphins, this one's could be in the long shot a little bit, just because we know, Penrith's resume, but they're also on a 4-game losing streak, so you got to look at that. And then the Rabbits, who have won 4 games and lost 1, and the Cowboys have won 2 and lost 2. So, come on, what are we talking about? Or won 2, lost 3. Okay, what are we talking about here when it comes to that? The Rabbitohs are only the underdogs here because of how many players we have out injured. So, I'm taking the Rabbitohs there as a cash cow. Okay. Our locks. These are fights that we're putting on. These are bets that we're going to place. And it's almost guaranteed that they're going to come through. Not guaranteed because, this is the punting game and nothing's ever guaranteed. But these are the closest things we have to being guaranteed. Volkanovski to win by decision. Yair Rodriguez on the money line. Chase Hooper on the money line. But I'd also like to look at Chase Hooper by knockout because I think his striking's improved leaps and bounds. Sean Woodson by decision. Gene Silver on the money line. Raiders on the, you could stack a little bit of multi in there for the Raiders, the Broncos, and the Storm on the money line. Our long shots, this is where things get a little bit interesting. These are Sunday bets. These are bets that you're not going to place when you're in your right mind. These are, a couple shots down, and you start to see stuff, all right? You start to see stuff that other people don't see. Michael Chandler, I put him in a long shot just because, he's with that age and stuff, and his only chance is a nice knockout, I think. So, Michael Chandler by knockout. Dominic Reyes, who's the underdog here, I think he's a cash cow. Just with his previous resume. Nikita Krylov's a tough fight for him, so I like Reyes as a cash cow here. I mean, a long shot rather. And then Jim Miller, who's paying something crazy, guys. He's paying what's Jim Miller paying? $5.75, all right. And he's in this long shot tier list because he's a crafty vet. You can't count out someone who's going to go in there and use guerrilla warfare, drunk fight in a bar style. All right. The Roosters, who are I'm putting a multi on the Roosters. Okay, I think the Roosters can really get it done. You're not going to lose twice to the Broncos in the first 6 rounds. Okay, and then I got the Wars to win at the MCG. I think the Wars have just showed, they've showed levels. They're coming off a bye. It's a good win for them if they get it. So yeah. That's this is the Punters Playbook for this week, all right? This is the Punters Playbook, all right? This is what you want to look at. The cash cows, your locks, and your long shots, okay? To round the video out, I'm going to do like a mega multi, okay? A multi that it's so outlandish, but, you're just going to chuck $5 on it, and it might get you something, okay? Jump into the official Ned's account of Fighting Field Insight Crew. And what we're looking at is Manly to win, Jason Saab anytime try scorer, Diego Lopez by knockout, Bryce Mitchell on the money line, Mitch Ramposa on the money line, South Sydney on the money line, and that's what I've got so far, but I think we could almost add some stuff to this, guys. I think we can definitely add some stuff to this, okay? We're just going to jump into this South Sydney bet. And we're going to quickly chuck in an Alex Johnson. Because when it rains, it pours, son. When it rains, it pours, okay? And then we're also going to chuck in, back into the UFC here, we're going to chuck in bear with me here, my people. We're going to chuck in Sean Woodson by decision. Okay, that gets us up to 10 legs. This is a mega multi if ever I've seen one. And we're looking at a total payout of, it's at 620 odds. Okay, $5 gets you $3,103. That's my mega multi of the round. Okay, so I'll put that list there in the description below, and you guys can do that with that as you will. So yeah, this has been the first episode of Punters Playbook. I'm sorry if it didn't just sort of roll off the tongue a lot of the times. It's our first time. We're kind of rookies here, people. We are rookies. All right, at the end of the day, we're rookies. But yeah, so I hope this might give you a bit of an insight into this weekend's punting. I hope some of these bets give you an upper hand. I hope you get something out of them. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and remember, as always, gamble responsibly.